My name's Amata, and in this Red Gaming Tech video I am here to talk about Assassin's Creed Origins. Now, I have to say, from everything we've seen so far, this game is looking like the breath of fresh air that this series so sorely needed. Now, I'm going to wait to play it, of course, before getting excited or hyped. I've fallen into that trap before, Ubisoft. You can't put it on me more than 3 times, I promise. But the point is, it's looking really, really promising. Now, obviously, Assassin's Creed has had a bit of a history with PC versions. Not all of it good, a lot of it bad, in all honesty. But obviously, you know, they have been better. Syndicate, I had no problems with Syndicate. Obviously, one machine. There's not, you know, a complete picture making all that. But still, we have come a long way from the absolute mess that was Unity in a lot of ways. However, before I get into the actual hard specs, I've got a few details courtesy of the producer Jose Areza, who is actually from the PC dedicated team at Ubisoft Kiev. And basically he said that they worked pretty hard to keep the minimum specs what they were for Syndicate, and also one in the range of supported machines, and giving users a bunch more frame rate options, which obviously is always good. Now, he also said that using the auto detect presets, the minimum specs is going to be 720p at 30. Now, obviously, the recommended are going to be for 1080p, but just you keep in mind that the minimum specs is for auto detect at 720p 30, and in the actual specs it does say that the video preset is lowest. So do keep in mind that this is literally the minimum to run the game. So just keep that in mind. They have a bunch of cool features as well, like dynamic resolution, blah blah blah, but I'm going to get to that after the specs, as we have quite a bit to get through. So let's kick things off with the minimum, shall we? The OS will surprise and shock you. Oh, no, not really. It's not like Linux or whatever. It's Windows 7, 8.1 or 10. I know, hardly exciting, but there it is. On the CPU side, you'll need an Intel Core i5-2400S at 2.5 GHz or an AMD FX 6350 at 3.9 GHz or equivalent, of course. Graphics cards, again, fairly manageable. You're going to need a GeForce GTX 660 for Camp NVIDIA, and for Camp AMD you will need an R9 290 with 2048 megabytes of VRAM. And yes, when you're talking megabytes of VRAM, you know you're going back a ways when it comes to graphics cards. System RAM wise, we're going to need 6 gigabytes, and again, this is going to be for 720p with the lowest possible video preset. With that said, let's crack on with the recommended, the one that you really want to know. Unsurprisingly, the OS remains unchanged. However, we have taken a rather significant jump on both the processor side and the graphics card side. So, we're going to need an i7-3770 at 3.5 GHz or an AMD FX 8350 at 4 GHz. And for the graphics card, you're going to need a GeForce GTX 760 or AMD R9 280X with 3 GB of VRAM. And system RAM also takes a little bit of a jump as well to 8 GB. Now, this is once again for the 1080p preset, 1080p resolution and the high video preset. So this isn't even for ultra. So just do keep in mind that if you want to go for ultra, I'm assuming there is ultra. There's always an ultra. There's always an ultra. Sometimes very ultra or something above ultra. But regardless, just keep that in mind. But this is the recommended. Obviously, if you want to run this game at 4K, you're probably going to need quite the rig, but nothing too horrific here. You know, the graphics card is fairly new, but it's not like top of the line. You don't need a 1080 Ti or anything ridiculous like that. And they are also stressing in these specs that the game can be played offline, and basically will require a one-time connection to the servers for activation. But if you want to use any online features, you will need a daily connection to the servers. But I don't think many of you care about online stuff when it comes to Assassin's Creed, but just for expedience and completeness sake, that is the case if you do want to use the online features. Now, at release, this is going to be quite critical. It's not going to support DX12, and also there's not going to be any SLI or Crossfire X configuration supported. But these may come in a post-launch update, at least for the SLI Crossfire configs. I doubt there's going to be DX12 added on. That's just obviously not going to be something you can just throw in. But you can expect SLI and Crossfire to come later on fairly reasonably. So, what other PC features? Well, there's going to be a performance benchmark for the very first time in Assassin's Creed. That's pretty awesome. It'll include the usual useful stuff like FPS, CPU, and GPU usage, and will probably be added to our suite of games, in all honesty, assuming this game is actually well optimized. There's also going to be dynamic resolution rendering, and of course it is going to be 4K, and there's also going to be support for oversampling or super sampling if you so desire. So I think this one is going to require a little smidge of an upgrade for some, especially if you want to run everything at max at higher resolutions. Unsurprisingly, it's quite the demanding game. It's hardly shocking that this is going to be the case if you want to run this at higher frame rates and resolutions. Not really all that surprising. Hopefully it's well optimized, because obviously that would be quite useful to have another benchmark added to our suite as well. And obviously it's just nice to have a well optimized game even outside of the work stuff. It's like, hey, this game actually runs well on PC, yay! Now, one last thing I want to add in is actually again from the producer, and he said, quote, on PC players can actually choose what baseline frame rate they want to target, 30, 45 or 60 FPS. They can also select their maximum frame rate between 30, 45, 60 or 90, or decide to completely uncap it. So there is actually quite a lot of customizability when it comes to that. You know, most of you are probably going to let it just run free and get to whatever frame rate you can. But perhaps if you're more realistic regarding your specs, it's a bit of an older machine perhaps, you're going to target, hey, I just want 60 or whatever. So you're not getting like huge drops in frame rate. You'd rather just run smooth and stable. They have added that feature in for you, which is rather nice, I will say. So there you have it. That's the specs needed to run Assassin's Creed Origins. Looking forward to this one, actually. It's coming out the day after my birthday, I believe. Yep, 27th. Yep, day after my birthday. So Wolfenstein and Assassin's Creed come out the day after my birthday. Ooh, it's good to be an October gal, I'll tell you that much. Thank you very much for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.